What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a story time for y'all that was sent in to me about arguably the worst boss I've ever heard of. This guy was working for a landscaping company, and the boss basically said that they don't need any breaks, even though, you know, backbreaking labor in the summer without water's pretty bad. Either way, I figured it would be something you guys would really enjoy because y'all love a good bad boss story. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so the person who sent this in to me had just graduated high school, and they weren't really sure what they wanted to do with their life yet, you know. They knew that, like, they didn't want to necessarily stay in the town they grew up in forever, but they didn't know what they wanted to go to college for, so they decided to take a year to kind of figure stuff out, you know. And during that year, they obviously didn't just want to be sitting around, so they started looking for a job, and they figured that they would get a job working outside because, you know, they like to be outside. They figured it's better than sitting inside all day, and they thought that, you know, like some manual labor might help them work out a little bit. Like if it was mandatory for work, that's why they just kind of were thinking about it. So he ended up getting a job with the landscaping company. And, you know, for the most part, it was a pretty easy job. Sure, you had to work outside. Sure, it was manual labor. But for the most part, you just kind of raked up leaves, used the leaf blower. If people had problems with their gutters, they would clear them, you know, landscaping stuff. But over time, he kind of started to realize that, like, the winter was pretty chill and the summer was not the best. Because as things started to heat up in the springtime, people started doing more demanding jobs. You know, they wanted you to come replant all the grass. They wanted you to come rip out all these bushes and plant new ones. They wanted you to do X. They wanted you to do Y. And now, instead of the weather being nice and balmy and you just raking up some leaves, removing a dead tree every now and then, you're doing like a bunch of hard work in sweaty weather where it's just not very comfortable. There's no way to cool down. You're just exhausted. And so he kind of started to reevaluate if he really wanted to keep doing this job. And, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think many jobs are for everybody. Like, people like to do what they like to do. Some people love to be outside all day working. Some people love to, like, you know, plant stuff and then look at it and be like, hey, I did that. I'm not gonna fault anyone for that. It's just not for everyone. And one of the things that he really hated is that their boss would not let them take breaks. And as the weather kept getting hotter and hotter, it kept getting more and more annoying. Like I said, when they were doing jobs in the winter, it didn't really matter. You didn't need a break. You weren't exhausted. But as the time May rolled around and the humidity was getting up there and the heat was getting up there, yeah, after an hour or two of being at a job site working, you wanted to just go sit in the shade for 5 minutes and just like cool off a little bit. And if anything, you know, I understand as a boss that like you want to get stuff done. It kind of starts to become a safety hazard once you have people like begging you for a water break and you're like, no, you better go finish planting those petunias, pal. And, you know, him and the boss would kind of start to butt heads over it. And the boss was this guy who was a second generation business owner. You know, his dad had started this company and made it very successful and then gave it to his kid. And sometimes that works out. But this dude just had a huge sense of entitlement, thought he was just the Bill Gates of business, you know, and didn't treat his workers very well. Like, you know, when a boss just doesn't respect anyone that works for them, you know, well, I'm in charge, so I want to do it this way. Like, that was kind of the attitude he had. If you want to be a good boss, you got to take a second and realize that, like, your employees are people too, and sometimes they're going to have good ideas, sometimes they're going to have complaints, maybe they're not always valid, but either way, you have to respect them and, like, hear them out and at least engage in the conversation, especially when it's about something as important as taking a break, you know. But every time the person who sent this to me would bring up the fact that, like, hey, it's insanely hot, you're not letting us get any breaks in at all, and I feel like it's unfair to be working 8 hours without even having a chance to like sit down and breathe a little bit when it's so hot. And the boss's response to that, instead of being like, you know what, that's pretty reasonable, I would want a break if I was in your position, was always just to basically bully him for like being pathetic and lazy, you know. And that always pissed off the person working there. Obviously, no one wants to be belittled by their boss in front of everyone, but especially because even customers really liked this dude because he was a hard worker. So imagine every time you're like, hey man, listen, I'm working really hard, but I need to drink some water, and he's like, no, you're so lazy, you're wasting everyone's time here, I don't even know why I pay you. You're like, all right man, whatever, everyone else thinks I'm a hard worker, none of my coworkers complain, you're the only one with beef. So he just started getting very fed up with this whole ordeal, and it all came to head at the end of May when things were like really hot. It was kind of the first week of like real summer weather, and they were doing this job at this old lady's house, and she was a very nice old lady. You know, she was talking to the guys while they were working, she would bring out lemonade, and the boss wasn't at the job site every day, but like they were getting a ton of work done. They were basically redoing her whole yard. They were going to be doing it for a week, but obviously every now and then with the weather being insane, the old lady would be like, you guys need to chill for a little bit. It's too hot. Just have some lemonade. And she's just trying to be a nice old lady, you know? Anyways, they were kind of doing it in shifts. Like basically people would be working and then like one guy would take a break. The other guy on break would go back on, type of vibe. And a lot of work was getting done, but the boss decided to surprise them one day and come by and see what was going on. And anytime your boss is going to do a surprise inspection, they're basically trying to catch you goofing off, you know, they're trying to catch you doing bad things. And of course, it just so happens that when the boss pulls up, the person who sent this to me that he already thinks is lazy happens to be the person sitting on the porch with the old lady with a glass of lemonade in his hands. And the boss gets out, you know, and you would think even if this looks really bad and he's annoyed, he would understand that it's not a good idea to scream at anyone in front of the customer. No, he starts going off from the moment he gets out of his truck. What is wrong with you? Are you kidding me? You're so lazy. You actually went and asked this lady to drink her stuff because you're at my job site. Are you kidding me? This is the most unprofessional behavior I've ever seen. You are a ridiculous embarrassment to my company. Da-da-da-da-da. Just going off. And obviously the worker's sitting there taking it. He knew he was going to be pissed. But the old lady starts to stand up for him a little bit and goes, no, no, no. This kid is a very hard worker. He takes like 2 breaks a day because it's just too hot. They all need a break. And the old, like the guy, the owner, looks at the old lady. And once again, you'd think at this point, you know, this is the lady paying for it. If she's insisting that everything's okay and they're working hard, it's not that big of a deal. He starts to argue with the old lady. He's like, are you kidding me? Do you know how many times this guy asks for a break? He wants like 3 breaks a day. Are you kidding me? No work would get done if we're doing that. And at this point, the worker's had enough. He's like, listen, dude, I'm not asking for 3-hour breaks a day. I'm saying like 10 minutes 3 times a day. I need to be able to drink water while I'm sweating my like everything out of me to try to get this landscaping done for you when you're not even here, bro. And the old lady is just kind of like, I don't want to be involved in any of this work drama, but he's not a lazy worker. He's been working very hard. They all have, you know, like, look at how beautiful my yard is. Because the work they did was really good and they weren't just being lazy, you know, they really were not. But the boss is just having none of it, you know. It was almost like his plan was to pull up, find someone taking a break and like make an example out of them, because he starts to argue with the old lady again and he's like, I don't care if you think that they're working hard, you're not the one paying their salary, blah 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 blah. So I don't care what you think, I don't care how good the work they're getting done is, you don't need any breaks. Do you understand me? Which, listen, I could understand the boss's frustration if he was like, you guys are taking too many breaks, there's too much time slacking off. But to be screaming at these people that they don't need to take any breaks while working 8-hour shifts, 1, is just unrealistic. And 2, I'm pretty sure it's illegal. You know, I don't really like know a whole lot about employment law, right? I'm a YouTuber. That being said, I'm pretty sure it's a requirement that like you have to give people the ability to like use the bathroom and drink water and take a break if they're at work. And at that point, some of the other workers are like, listen, man, you have to give us breaks. And so now it's kind of become a group like argument, right? The old lady, the person who sent this to me, and all the coworkers versus the boss just being like, no, it's dramatically unfair that you expect us to just work forever and not take any breaks. And instead of once again taking the time to reevaluate and go, maybe they've got a point here, you know, maybe their work would be a little bit better if they weren't exhausted. He doubles down and is like, you guys are the laziest bunch of workers I've literally ever had. This is ridiculous. You don't need any breaks. I never took any breaks, so you don't need to either. And listen, man, it's fantastic that apparently you've never taken a break. I don't really believe it, but whatever. But on top of that, you've got to understand, bro, that if you're not taking a break, okay, it's your company, right? You know, like it's your thing. Obviously, you care about it a lot. The people that you are paying to work for your thing are not going to have the same work ethic that you do because it's not theirs. Obviously, they're going to do hard work. They're going to get stuff done. If the customers are happy and you're making money and the work's getting done, hey, that's what matters. But like, I don't really understand why you would expect these workers to care as much as you do. They don't own it. Why would they? Anyways, the old lady starts to get very upset with the fact that this guy's just screaming at the workers, screaming at her. She's just trying to be like a sweet old lady, take care of these workers. Not that she had to, it's not her job at all. But she's starting to get upset because she's like, these guys are working hard and they've been so nice. You haven't even been to this job site and you come in and you just start screaming at everybody and making everything uncomfortable. And the boss is like, you know what? If you don't like the way that I handle my business, then maybe my crew shouldn't be finishing your landscaping. And she's like, what are you talking about, man? That's not what I'm saying. I just don't understand how this hasn't been a problem. You haven't been here at all. You pull up and now there's a ton of problems when everything was going fine. And the boss just could not take a second to calm down and realize that he's arguing with a customer that is saying, I really like the work. There is no problem. It's okay. This is basically like a manager walking up to a Karen and demanding that they cause a problem, but it's not a Karen. And they're like, no, I don't want to fight with you. And the manager's like, fine, I'll give you a discount. And they're like, what do you mean? I didn't want to fight. Anyways, after a little bit more back and forth with the old lady, he ends up getting in his truck and on his way back to the truck, he makes a threat about you'll be lucky if my crew's here tomorrow to finish this work, which all right, dude, that's just kind of not a professional way to run stuff. Even if you don't like a customer, if you're halfway through the job, you kind of just have to finish the job, that's just kind of business. You have to have a level of professionalism. Even if a customer is pissing you off, you got to finish what you started. But no, whatever. He leaves. The old lady's upset. The crew's kind of I don't know if have a job. I don't know if we're fired. I don't really know what's going on. So they end up all packing up and going home. And when they all get home, they kind of had a group chat with the boss and without the boss, right? And they checked the group chat with the boss and he's texted them basically saying that they're fired effective immediately. He can't have such lazy people that expect breaks in this industry. That's not how it works. And all of them go to the other group chat and they're like, well, that's kind of crappy. We're all out of the job. But one of them that was a little bit older and had some more experience goes, listen, I've been thinking about making my own company anyways. I talked to that old lady we were working with. She's going to let us finish her yard, but let's just make our own thing. And listen, here's the problem when you're a lazy boss who's never at the job site and is horrible to your workers, but the customers really like them, dude. Your workers are just going to go make their own thing, bro. So whatever, one of the workers ends up making their own little landscaping thing. They finished that lady's yard, right? And, it wasn't as immediately successful as the other one they were working on because it had been built by that dude's dad. But over time, they definitely noticed that, that guy would lose clients and they were gaining them. And it wasn't directly stealing from that dude's business. It's just he went out and hired another crew and would, yell at them and make sure they didn't take breaks and they would quit. And he'd hire another crew. And, eventually he found people that would deal with working 8 hours straight and not take any breaks, but it's not the type of people that are actually fantastic at their job, because people that are great at their job are going to go find a company where they're allowed to take a break. Let's be honest, if you're the Pablo Picasso of landscaping, where are you going to work? The company that's hey, you have 5 days a week, you work 8 hours, you take breaks the way you're supposed to, you have 401k and a dental plan. Or the guy that's what? You need water? Are you kidding me? You're sweating. Drink your sweat. Which one are you going to pick? It's really not rocket science. And of course, he had argued with the old lady, so clearly he's willing to argue with his customers. So it's not that's fantastic either. Anytime there's a problem, his customer service skills are zero. And they basically just watch this dude destroy the business that his dad has built up. He's not out of business, he's still technically in business, but it's just a shell of what it once was. And there's popped up a ton of different, companies that do the same thing that have kind of taken over what he did once have control of. So overall, dude, I don't know where he went to business school. I don't know if his dad taught him how to do anything, but for some reason, he really expected that people were going to do hard manual labor and not take any breaks and enjoy working for him. Believe it or not, if you're kind of nice to the people that work for you, it's going to go a lot further. And he always is complaining on social media about how all of his workers always leave to go work for his enemies. Not realizing that, dude, if you can't keep people working for you for more than a month before they're I can't work for you, and they don't leave the industry, they just go to work for somebody else, eventually you might figure out, oh, I'm the problem. But no, dude, he just continues to cycle through people until he finds people that will put up for his crap, and then eventually they don't want to put up with his crap, and they go and deal with someone that doesn't have as much crap. Either way, though, I just think it's very funny to see somebody that just, thinks that they're the Bill Gates of business, when in reality they don't don't understand how to let people drink water. Either way, I also hope that everybody is like much better off with this new company that they're working for. The person who sent this to me is going to school, you know. But overall, I would just say anyone out there that's trying to hustle, start a business, take over for your dad of a multi-billion-dollar corporation and not become an evil villain, just chill out, bro. It's all right if people take a 5-minute break, I promise, as long as the work is getting done and customers are happy. That's really all that matters. Anyways, guys, I think that's gonna do it for the video, though. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, I would really appreciate you taking a second to press the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. And of course, subscribe if you're new and turn on those notifications. If you really want to help me out, I'll put a link down below to my Spotify show. I do post all of these on the audio format on there. If you want to check that out offline without gameplay, whatever floats your boat, feel free to do it. Link in the description. And yeah, on that note, guys, don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot. And I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.